Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. For those of you who are new, I go over news headlines that I think are interesting or at least something that people should be aware of. And for those things that really catch my attention, I'll go into commentary. If there's something that I don't go into depth with that you're interested in learning more about, I'm more than willing to do that. If it's something that I feel comfortable getting into, um, otherwise, if you have a news item that you want me to discuss, I'm also happy to do that again if it's something I feel comfortable going into depth with. Mainly if it's something I understand. Viewers on my channel know that there are certain summaries I will read because I think, okay, I've heard of this company, and the words coming out of my mouth don't make any sense to me. So, anyway. So let's start off with world news, and I'm sure many of you have woke up to this if you do get news notifications. A suicide bombing at a crowded mosque in Pakistan's Peshawar killed at least 32 people. The latest attack targeting police in the northwestern city where Islamist militants remain active. Hospital officials say at least 147 people were wounded, with many of them in critical condition. In other words, the death toll is going to go up. So, and probably by the time you watch this, it already has. Okay. Russian forces claimed incremental gains in eastern Ukraine, adding up to their biggest advances in months, after relentless battles that Kyiv describes as human wave attacks, which showed Moscow had no regard for the lives of its own men. And anybody who's been paying even the slightest bit of attention knew that already. Knew that the Kremlin doesn't care about their citizens, they just care about their end goals. And people are just instruments to get to those goals. They don't consider them anything important. Unless you're rich, you're not important. So, yeah, not surprising. All right. So apparently, a group of pro-Russian activists in Germany donated funds to a Russian army division fighting in Ukraine, and the money was used to purchase walkie-talkies, headphones, and telephones. So, great. And I don't think anything can be done about it. I mean, there's nothing illegal um about doing that. I mean, if you're going to support Russia, that's legal. It kind of says you're a fucking asshole. I mean, if you live in Germany and still think that supporting Russia is a good thing, even after hearing the other side, which you're not allowed to in Russia, yeah, yeah, you're not a good person at this point. So, yeah. Um, and what's been happening for a while as well, flood-ravaged Auckland is forecast to receive further heavy rain in the coming days, authorities in New Zealand's largest city said, as insurers counted the cost of what looks likely to be the country's most expensive weather event ever. Jacinda Ardern steps down and New Zealand gets flooded. If I was religious, I would actually, claim something. But I I'm not, so I'm not going to say this has anything to do with anything. All right. Well, except for climate change, but that's different. Health authorities in China's southwestern province of Sichuan will allow unmarried individuals to raise a family and enjoy benefits reserved for married couples in the latest effort to bolster a falling birth rate. I don't know how well that's going to help. I mean, I did used to work with a woman who wanted to be a single mother, but I don't think most people want to raise children without marriage. I mean, I guess there could be couples that don't want to get married but want to raise a family. I guess that's possible, but otherwise, I'm just not seeing how this is going to bolster anything. Because if you remain unmarried, do you really want to raise a family with that person? I don't know, maybe. All right. So, to continue, we live in the twilight zone. The World Health Organization said that COVID-19 continues to constitute a public health emergency of international concern, its highest form of alert. The world is dangerously unprepared for future pandemics. The International Federation of the Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies say in a report, calling on countries to update their preparedness plans by year's end. I think the main problem is, I know that I saw this with the CDC in the US, is that the CDC started giving reports which some appeared contradictory because they were just still in the learning phases. People don't know how science works, so they get fed up. And then, of course, there were the people who were anti-science to begin with. So basically, it's not so much that countries aren't prepared. I'm sure some are, but their constituency kind of basically, I'm sure you've heard of, there's an extinction group. I can't think of their name. And yeah, I think more people are part of it than they realize. If you can look at a pandemic and think, cool, because they're so short it's not going to affect them. Who cares if other people die? So, yeah. So, after a while, the CDC just basically gave up. It's not so much that they really thought that things were at a place where, masks didn't need to be worn or whatever. It was more of a, I give up. Nobody's listening to us anyway. All right, so that's all I have for world news. So, US news. Let's see here. The attorney representing the family of Tyree Nichols, the black man who was fatally beaten by Memphis police officers, called for Congress to pass police reform legislation and said Nichols' mother hoped the tragedy could lead to a greater good. Well, let's see. People thought that after George Floyd, and yeah, then this happened. So, I don't know. I mean, if you go into a job like policing for the wrong reasons, how you could pass legislation up the yin yang, but if you don't catch that these are horrible people before they do horrible things, I don't know how much you can help. It would help. What would help is that the police officers, which I just heard before I started recording, a sixth police officer has been relieved of duty. So a lot of this could have been prevented if the police officers who weren't beating the shit out of Tyree Nichols stopped the ones who were. Because it's not like, oh, they're a police officer, but even though they're going over the line, well, they're police, so I'm not going to stop them. Hell yeah, you're going to stop them. I mean, they might be pissed off at you, yeah, but this culture of the thin blue line and that everybody needs to protect the other one, even when they do something shitty. Well, yeah, that's the culture that needs to change. I mean, how many officers, if they felt that they could get away with this shit, even if they were horrible frickin' people, how many of them would do it if they knew that their partner was going to stop them or that their partner was going to turn on them? But these officers know that body cams exist and they still do it. So maybe the threat of other officers trying to stop them isn't going to stop them either, because if body cams don't stop them. So all you can do is do better background checks, I guess, and make sure that the people who are there for the wrong reason don't get very far, or not far at all. Because otherwise I don't know what else you can do. I really don't know. Like with the George Floyd situation, or there were other situations where chokeholds were banned by that police department, and yet the cops still did that, and the other police officers did nothing. So it's the other police officers doing nothing that's more of a problem than that one police officer doing it. Because I wonder how much they would get away with shit and how many people would end up dying if the other officers stood up and said, no, you're not doing this. This is wrong. Without that, I don't know how much this legislation is going to help. Anyway. And about Tyree Nichols' mother, hope this tragedy could lead to a greater good. I don't know. I mean, people keep thinking that after the last mass shooting. Oh, maybe this is the one where people are going to get their heads out of their asses and do something. And it doesn't happen. So, I don't know how much how much change this is going to lead to. Because again, because of the culture of policing, unless the cops are willing to stand up and say, no, you're not doing this because it's illegal, it's wrong, it's illegal, whatever. I just don't see how this is going to lead to a greater good. I mean, unfortunately, the culture is that there are cops that do stand up, and then they get punished. So until that changes, cops aren't going to be afraid to intervene. All right, let's see what else we have here. President Joe Biden and House of Representatives Speaker Kevin McCarthy will meet at the White House on Wednesday for talks in the standoff over the federal debt ceiling and prospect for a U.S. default. The only thing that gives me hope that the Republicans will blink is because what they're asking for is stupid. You want to talk about that during budget talks? Fine. They are messing with money that's already spent. It's not like we're asking to be able to spend this much money. We've already spent this much money. We're just asking for a credit raise so we have the money to pay back our debts. Anyway, to pay our bills. So, since Kevin McCarthy is a spineless piece of shit, I'm thinking that the Republicans are going to eventually fold. If for no other reason, because number one, Kevin is spineless, or number two, and there are plenty of Republicans who are like, yeah, let's not do that. Or two, he just happens to be smarter than he lets on, and he realizes that this is a really, really bad idea. Of course, that would put him in the position of potentially being called for a confidence vote. And since he values power more than anything, he might be willing to crash the global economy just to keep power because yeah, that'll work. You're definitely going to have a lot of power then if the global economy is shit. Yeah, I hope that's worth the 2 years you would be speaker. So, it's still possible, but I'm holding out hope that reason will prevail. All right, let's see. This one really raised an eyebrow. Not because I'm surprised. I'm shocked, not surprised. But anyway, a wealthy Russian businessman with ties to the Kremlin faces trial today on U.S. charges that he participated in a vast scheme that generated tens of millions of dollars in illegal trading profits using corporate information stolen through hacking. So yeah, I'm shocked, not surprised. Yeah, I mean, come on. Wealthy Russian businessmen, these oligarchs did not get rich the legal way. None of these oligarchs got rich legally. So, yeah, this doesn't surprise me at all. Let's see. In case anybody cares about sports, the Super Bowl is going to be Kansas City Chiefs versus the Philadelphia Eagles. As far as I'm concerned, if it's not the Packers, don't pretty much care. I mean, maybe if it's a different NFC North team, I might watch the Super Bowl, but for the most part, if it's not the Green Bay Packers, I don't care. All right, let's see here if there's any. Well, this Adani thing has been blowing up the past few days on my source on Reuters, so I guess if any of you can explain to me what the hell. The Adani Group shares extended their sharp falls as the Indian conglomerate's rebuttal of a U.S. short seller's criticism failed to pacify investors, driving stock market losses for the companies to almost $70 billion over 3 days. And I honestly have no idea what I just read. So, but like I said, this has been going on for like a week. So, gonna mention it because it's obviously important. I have no idea. All right. Dutch health technology company Philips will scrap another 6,000 jobs worldwide as it tries to restore its profitability and improve the safety of its products following a recall of respiratory devices that knocked off 70% of its market value. Well, that's an ouch. All right. Consumer goods giant Unilever appointed Hein Schumacher to replace Alan Jope as chief executive from July, in a move that was welcomed by investors, including board member and activist shareholder Nelson Peltz. Schumacher joined Unilever in October last year as non-executive director and is currently the chief of Dutch dairy business Friesland Campina. So, I don't know. I always worry about activists when I read the term activist shareholder, if this isn't going to be bad. But I don't know enough to really make a call either way. All right. Nissan and Renault agreed to a sweeping remake of their 2-decade-old automaking alliance that will put them on equal footing and see the Japanese company invest in Renault's new electric vehicle business. I don't know if this is good, bad, indifferent. No, nothing. So all I can do is read it to you, so the information's out there. Yeah. And Toyota is still the world's top-selling automaker for a third straight year. Shell will combine its oil and gas production and liquefied natural gas divisions as part of broader changes under new CEO Wael Sawan, which the company said could result in some job cuts. And I hope I pronounced his name correctly. Yeah, consolidation usually leads to job cuts. Yes, people could lose jobs, but maybe this is better for the environment. I don't know. I have no idea what this is. Anyway. Chinese internet search major Baidu is planning to launch an artificial intelligence chatbot service similar to OpenAI's ChatGPT in March. A person familiar with the matter told Reuters. Okay. I wonder if people are going to use that bot to cheat as well. Or maybe that's why they're launching a competitor, because they'll be like, yeah, and you can't cheat with us. I don't know. All right, let's see. Looks like Boeing has sold its last 747. God, I remember when those were first launched. Yay! I am so old. Anyway, so there's that. And this is just, I find this funny, but at the same time maddening that this could happen. A tiny radioactive capsule has been lost in the Australian outback. And I just saw a news short where people are searching for it, and that it fell off a truck. Now, maybe I'm just being silly, but if you're dealing with a radioactive capsule, don't you think you would do a better job of fastening it to the truck? Or encasing it in, I don't know, lead or something? So if it falls off, it's not going to lead to a radioactive disaster. I realize it's small and you have to come near it, and this is the outback, which is mostly desert, but at the same time, Jesus Christ. Let's not be so flippant with radioactive materials here, people. And with that, I am done for this edition, and I will see you all tomorrow.